Hi, this is Cindy Morgan, but you probably know me as Yori in Tron or Lacey Underall in Caddyshack. And you're listening to Mark Who 42.
To Mark 42's Universe's special documentary on the Tennessee Valley Authority. I'm your host, the immortal Kang. No, I'm really Mark Baumgarten, and we have a special show. We're talking all about Loki Season 1. And on the show, we've got...
Patricia Freyre.
Hi, Trish. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. How about you?
Yeah? What's been going on?
It's hot.
Yes, it would be hot. You are on the west coast of the United States where it is sweltering.
Yes, it is.
You know, it got hot here yesterday. Well, no, it's hot in my house. Our air conditioner is not working great. So it's hotter in the house than it is outside. But you guys are in trouble out there. I don't know why. We also have
Eduardo M. Freyre.
And
I'm definitely from the sacred timeline.
Good. Well, you know, as the immortal Kang, I have to say things about
You're
that.
not Kang.
I'm Kang.
You're not Kang.
I'm Kang the Conqueror.
No,
That's
you're not.
me.
No, you're not.
Totally.
No.
I'm Kang the Conqueror. Yeah,
you're
that's
not.
me. That's me.
No.
Yeah.
Last I checked, you do not have a giant sword-shaped starship called Damocles.
Yeah, but I am the man. I am at the end of time. We also have
Quiros.
Hey, Zion.
Hello.
What's going on?
Nothing really. Writing, school. That's it.
Oh, yeah. How is school going?
School is annoying because again another 6-week class because I finished one 6-week class, so here comes another one right out off the bat. So here we are.
All right, and finally we have
Vicky Jakubowski.
Hey, Vicky, our newest member of the Mark 42 clan.
And I'm so happy to be one of you.
Yes, we're like the Wu-Tu
clan.
One of
us. I'm sorry, I knew Ed would do that.
Thank you for the setup.
All right, like I said, this episode is all about Season 1 of the wonderful Marvel Cinematic Universe TV show on Disney Plus, Loki. And with our resident Marvel expert, we're going to let Eduardo M. Freyre run the show. Hey, Ed, go ahead. That rhymed, by the way. Hey, Ed, go ahead.
Hello, this is Russian variant of Eduardo. I will host show today. No, you won't. Get out of here. No variants. Please, you let me host show. No, I'm not going to let you host the show. But I brought cat version of you. See, he's very cute. He's very cute. He's small kitten. No, we're not having any cats. We're not having any Russian. Get out of here. Go, get out. I'm pruning you.
What about President Ed?
Oh, no.
The cat will have to bite your hands off.
I thought I told you to get out. Bad kitty.
We could just let Ed do this for a half hour and we just be quiet.
It's taken care of. It's taken care of. It's taken care of.
I thought we agreed no variants on this show.
Exactly. They're gone. They're gone now. They're gone. Okay. All right. Good. Now on to business. Yeah, we're here to talk about Loki. It's the third series that the MCU has put out on Disney Plus, and it is, I'd say, arguably it rivals WandaVision in trippiness.
Yeah.
Little background for the little bit of background. To remind everybody, or for those that decided to watch it without watching Endgame, which, by the way, shame on you. Loki picks up from where Endgame left off, in that when the Avengers went back in time to grab the Tesseract from the Battle of New York, there was complications, and Loki found the Tesseract and then teleported out. So this picks up from there, and he ends up getting arrested by a group calling themselves the Time Variance Authority. And we hear a lot of stuff about the sacred timeline and how there can't be any variants, and things like that. I think first question to the group, who here was like familiar with the TVA from the comics?
I was not at all. In fact, I knew nothing about. I know nothing about Thor. Like, this is one of those rare moments in my Marvel time where I have no idea what's coming up or what's going on. So it's kind of like a breath fresh of air, not knowing what the heck is a TVA or anything else dealing with Loki or Thor.
Yeah,
Wow.
I had heard of Mobius, but I wasn't. The TVA was completely out of my purview.
Yeah. I gotta say, well, what about you, Vicky? Were you familiar with the TVA?
Remember hearing the name, but I don't remember that from my time period. I think that was later, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was that like?
It was. Okay. It's complicated.
Oh yes, it's one of those, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those.
Okay.
Basically, the way it breaks down is that I'm going to say in the 70s, there was a Thor storyline where he encountered a group called the Time Twisters, which were these three beings that apparently came, were like born at the end of time. And that what they were doing is the way they were exploring time and space is they were literally walking through time.
Oh.
But as they went on, they would show up like in a time period once every like 1,000 or 500 years. And when they show up, they basically devastate everything around them. Like not by,
okay,
by
see, that
accident
sounds
or design.
vaguely familiar. And of course, there's so much time travel,
Oh,
space travel,
thing...
and alternate universes in Marvel that every once in a while you go, hold it, which one was that?
Yeah, no, I hear that. So then the other thing is that in cut to about a decade or so later, and the time keepers are introduced. And apparently,
and I did know that name.
Yeah, their whole thing, the timekeepers were about, the timekeepers were basically about, okay, we're going to kind of shepherd time, make sure everything, stays on the up and up. They hooked up with a villain named Immortus, which we'll table that. We'll come back to that. But yeah, they teamed up with a villain called Immortus, and they said, hey, we're giving you a job. Here is this many millennia of time, and you're in charge of keeping it okay. So we had that. One of the things that gets revealed, and this ties into my theories about Loki, is that the timekeepers, we kind of find out, they're not the Doctor. They're not the benevolent watchers of time and space.
Right.
They're not as bad as the Time Twisters. But really what we find out is that all reality, every single alternate universe, everything has one end point, one final gasp before reality craps out. Mm-hmm. And essentially you have there's like one of two groups that's going to be last group standing at the end of time. The timekeepers or the time twisters. And gotcha. the keepers have been trying to make sure they're the last one standing. So I have to admit, when Loki started and we got all this stuff with sacred timelines, since I knew about the timekeepers, when they said that the timekeepers are in charge of the TVA, I was just like, oh boy, is all this sacred timeline stuff BS? And they're just like, well, we want to be sure we're the ones that are in charge of everything, when at the end of the day.
Right. I kind of like picked up on that because when they was talking about how Loki dying wasn't supposed to be an event, right? Why did they only focus on Loki but not the Avengers? Because at that point, weren't the Avengers not supposed to lose the cube?
According to what they said, that was actually in the timeline. That was supposed to happen. They said that distinctly.
So
Yeah.
losing the cube is in the timeline, but Loki taking the cube isn't in the timeline.
Yes.
Well, that's what they claim.
That's what they claim.
Yeah, that's what they claim.
And
yeah.
what
See,
they
like-
claim is, well,
Yes,
Well,
we definitely
yeah.
know that not
exactly
everything
why.
that is said is the truth.
That's
Right.
exactly why I felt that.
Yep. Well, I also kind of felt there was like a part of me that like, well, it's, well, you also gotta, one thing I have to say though is I love the way that they showed off the TVA
Mhm.
as kind of like this. First of all, it's kind of like this antiquated kind of office-like
Yes.
bureaucracy. I have to say the one that stole, I think something that stole the show
Mhm.
has to be voice actress Tara Strong as Miss Minutes.
Yes,
Oh, wow.
That
yeah.
was
it was
just-
so perfect.
That was awesome. That
I
was
actually
just
thought
awesome.
she was only going to be in the first episode. I had no clue that they were
Oh.
going to continue.
I'm
That
glad
was great.
when people were starting raving about Miss Minutes, the showrunner was like, "Oh yeah, there's going to be more, and there's more to her." And I'm like, "Bring it on, bring
Yeah.
it on, please, bring it on." Yes, I want more. Give me more. Here I am with the plate at the buffet. More of the Miss Minutes, please. More of the Miss Minutes.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny when they brought Loki into the TVA and the one worker there had a drawer full of Infinity Stones.
It was
yeah.
so
we-
good.
We use these as paperweights.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
isn't that
Oh,
what
yeah, definitely.
convinced Loki that they were telling the truth when he saw the Infinity
Yeah.
Stones? And
Yeah, that kind of convinced him that these guys are not.
When it
Yeah,
just
the
shows
usual-
us
the usual
that
methods, yeah.
whatever you think is the most powerful, there's always something more.
yeah.
To quote Liam Neeson, "There's always a bigger fish." That's my best Liam Neeson. Okay. There's always a bigger fish. Yeah,
Always a bigger fish.
bigger fish. Yeah, that what I love is that moment is played for laughs, but there's also that undercurrent of like,
Yes.
oh geez, now I might be out of my league here. Like I might have to employ a different bag of tricks. These guys aren't,
Well,
He's
and as a viewer, everyone would you just kind of felt this audible gasp around the planet of what?
these guys are these guys are that powerful. Yep. And then, well, of course, then the other, we talk about that, but then there's the surprise because Loki, rather than just being imprisoned by the TVA and pruned, he gets hired
Mhm.
to be
You gotta love that.
yeah, you gotta love that they you gotta love that they hire him because there's a variant. They say that there's an alternate Loki that's running around that's causing problems. And that's where we get introduced to Sylvie.
Yeah.
Now there was
Sylvie,
a fabulous
the female
character.
Loki. Yeah, I have to admit, when she unmasked, I'm just like, what? They're actually gonna have a female Loki?
Well,
Yeah.
They're actually gonna do female Loki?
Will, my brother, he called it. He's like,
Yeah.
I think it's a girl.
Yep.
You know what's interesting? From what I understand, the character that Sylvie is in the comic was co-created by Paul Cornell, who
the female Loki.
the female Loki, that particular one, and Paul Cornell wrote Doctor Who novels back in the day, back when the
there we go.
wilderness years. Yeah.
Haha. See.
Yeah. Aha! It all ties back to
all
Mark Who
ties-
42, folks.
Well,
Oh,
I
because
thought Sylvie.
we're so important to the sacred.
Well,
Yes,
yeah.
we are.
Sylvie was such an amazing character. And as you watch her throughout the entire series, you kind of realize she's where Loki was in the first Thor and even the first Avengers. He was kind of a petulant teenager. And saying mine. And she seems to be stunted at that level. And of course, that comes completely to fruition in the final episode. And you're going, wow, you can see the similarities, you can see the growth, and you can see this massive growth in Prime Loki. And exactly kind of how he is in the series of movies that we've just watched, even though we've taken him from a further time back, further proof that he would evolve and become a far more interesting character. A really good fleshed out villain who's not a real evil person is just so interesting and fascinating, which is why I've always loved Loki, because he's done some horrible things in the comics. He's done some horrible things in the movies, but he always seems to grow in some ways, and he's got good sides to him. But I love Sylvie because you got to see this like stunted Loki and this stunted growth, and what would happen if he never had the love of his mother and his father, and as much as he claimed he didn't care, he really did. It just, the dynamic was just fascinating.
Oh yeah.
I was when Sylvie came out and was for a second I'm like, is it supposed to be the Enchantress? Because she kind of enchanted people. That was part of her powers.
That's
so
what
I was like, is it supposed to be Loki or is it the Enchantress?
I wouldn't be surprised if it is supposed to be. I wouldn't be surprised if it is supposed to be Loki, but what the show, what the writers of the show and the showrunner decided to do is take elements of Enchantress and put that in there. Just to kind of be like, okay, well, we haven't had the Enchantress in the MCU. Why don't we put her in there?
Right.
And without having to create this whole complicated thing, let's just make her a variant of Loki, and then work our way from there.
Which I think worked beautifully.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And I gotta say, once they started talking about variants, and we saw the female Loki, there was also a part of me that's like, okay, wait a minute. Given I'm kind of trying to apply the rules of time travel, and I'm like, wait a minute. So this is also what, as I thought about it, and as the series progressed, I'm like, okay, there's more to this, because I'm thinking, where the heck do we have the split that would create female Loki, especially because the only time travel that Prime Loki did was when the TVA arrested him. So it's like, okay, where's this coming from?
Yeah.
And it's also the first hint that there is a multiverse in the MCU.
Yes.
See, I kind of wonder, like, the whole true definition of a multiverse, because like the word variant means that you're deriving from the original. So like if we're taking this as like an actual current timeline, and I'm sure that we'll talk about this later within the show once we get to the big guy, but the way that they're pointing at it, it's like they're saying that the MCU is kind of like the Prime universe, and everything else is branching from this Prime MCU universe.
Yeah, of course. You do get a good point, Zion. Although, if you think about it, given what we learn about the TVA, could it be that the term variant is not accurate?
Yes, that's also what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole thing about sacred timeline, it's one of those things where it's like, is it really though? Is it really?
You start to kind of wonder, because we already know that everything we kind of learned in episode 1 about the TVA was all a lie.
Yeah.
So the fact that what we're told by the end of this, it's kind of like, okay, so what's real? What's not? What's really going to happen?
Yeah.
And we already know, and we've known for a couple of years, that the next Doctor Strange and the multiverse. So, this and WandaVision have all played into that so beautifully.
Yeah.
And now I can't wait for the flipping movie.
Oh yeah. Well, and also there is talk that Spider-Man No Way Home may even play into it.
Well, doesn't Doctor Strange take the basic guidance role that Tony Stark had in the Spider-Man movies, in the next Spider-Man movie? Isn't Doctor Strange supposed to be the father figure in the next Spider-Man movie?
Possibly, but they've already talked about having Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in the next Spider-Man movie.
That's true.
So,
been rumors
everywhere. We got multiverse going on.
Yeah.
And Alfred Molina is kind of
he's coming back as Doc Ock.
Yes.
And that he is the Spider-Man Doc Ock, the one that Tobey Maguire fought.
Yes.
So already we're getting, it's like, already we are getting, we already got hints of the multiverse. One thing that was interesting, though, is that I did see an article saying that we have not gotten a Spider-Man No Way Home trailer yet. And that's supposed to come out this year.
Yeah.
We're already over halfway through the year, and we don't have a trailer.
Oh, yeah, you're
right.
right.
And then the article was postulating the reason why we don't have a trailer is because it may have spoiled Loki.
Oh, that could be.
Okay.
Like,
I could see that.
Whatever's going on in Loki would have been spoiled by a trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home.
Right. Maybe.
Here's some question. I want to ask, how does everyone feel about the overall aesthetic of the show, particularly the TVA? Because they got like a real future 60s
retro future
vision going on.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
really
yeah.
I
nice.
love that.
Yeah.
That was
I love
great.
it. What I love is just the whole office type
Yes.
of environment. This whole kind of bureaucracy, because the TVA in the comics is pretty much the same thing. Like, the image that constantly shows up is you have this infinite room, like, spreading out in all directions with desks and with guys behind. Like, the only thing that the series didn't do is the fact that all the guys behind the desks are faceless, literally.
Ooh.
Yes.
Like, they're literally faceless, but it's just this huge bureaucracy. It's like, let's say that Mark travels back to 1986, then somewhere there's a member of the TVA sitting at the desk going, no, he traveled back in time. What is he doing? No, he's buying a ticket to Superman 4. He can't do that.
No, I'm not. We're changing that.
Yeah,
right
they're
there,
gonna-
right
you know,
now. Quest for
they're
Peace is not happening.
Yeah,
I'll stop Quest for Peace from coming out. That's what I'm going back in time.
Okay. See, that would send one of these desk jockeys in the TVA going into a hissy fit. They'd be like, no, he's trying to remove Quest for Peace from the timeline.
No, he'd be thanking me.
They would not be thanking you. They would not be Okay. I get where you're coming from, Mark, but the way the TVA works, they would be banging their heads against the wall and being like, no, he's changing the timeline. No, I'm gonna have to fill out this form in triplicate. Why is he doing that to me?
I have to. It always makes me laugh because I've had friends who never understood the time travel in the various comics and movies and Doctor Who, and they're always like, "Well, that just doesn't make any sense." And it's like, or it's a lazy writing. I had one friend thinks that the time travel and the stuff. And the changing of things. Oh, that's just lazy. It's like, no, it's fun. And it's that what if game, which of course, what if is coming out. And
more on that later, by the way, because I have more on that later.
I love the playing with concepts and evolving characters. And, I maybe because I'm a big sci-fi person, to me, it's like, well, that's not bad. Whether it's Stargate, Star Trek, Star Wars has not done time travel yet, but give them a moment.
Oh, no.
Wait.
I'm sorry. That was bad of me. But it can be so much fun to relook at things. Well, no, hold on. I should take that back. Star Wars Holiday Special, the Lego Holiday Special did do time travel, so never mind.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry. I got that wrong. Oh, okay. Wow. But to me, it's fascinating because you look at a world from multiple different levels and different points of view.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know. When I'm watching Loki, I just was so, I have to agree with you, Ed, that it kind of rivals WandaVision. WandaVision I thought was fabulous. I loved Falcon and Winter Soldier. But then when I'm watching Loki, I'm like, it can't be only 6 episodes. I must have more. And then they announced season 2.
Yeah, there are going. We're going to have to take a break here, guys. When we come back, we're going to talk more about Loki season 1. This is Mark Who 42's Universe on Odyssey Radio and Geekcast Radio Network and wherever you get your podcasts from. We'll be right back.
We'll be back with more of Mark Who 42's Universe here on Odyssey Radio.
Mark Who 42's Universe has a deal for you. We've teamed up with Audible Books to get you a free audiobook and 2 free Audible originals for the first month of membership with Audible from Amazon. After that, it's only $14.99 per month for 3 audiobooks. There is no contract, and you can cancel anytime you like. Just go to your web browser and type in www.audibletrial.com/markwho42. Again, that's www.audibletrial.com
patreon.com/MarkWHO42. You'll have hours of listening pleasure, but listen to us first.
The Powers of Grayskull series will cover every episode of every MOTU cartoon. Yes, even that crappy New Adventure stuff. Join Optimus Solo and TF2 Mike as they tell tales of Eternia, discover the myths of Etheria, become masters in space, and finally masters of Grayskull. You can find the Pogs podcasts in iTunes and the web at www.geekcastradio.com. Good journey!
You are listening to Mark Who 42's Universe on Odyssey Radio.
I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten, with our guests, not our guests, our co-hosts, Eduardo M. Freyre. I get that wrong. Trish Freyre, then Eduardo M. Freyre. See, Trish, I should have said you first. Zion Quiros and Vicky Jakubowski. Hi, gang.
Hey,
Hello, Mark.
Hey,
Welcome back.
Wait, hang on. We're supposed to have 5 people here. Why do I count 6?
Oh, that's
All right.
because-
Whose variant is in here?
You see, I'm sorry. I walked through the temp pad. As you see, I am Rod Sterling Zion. I walked through the door of prayer for introduction.
No, out. Get out. Get out. No variants. Get out.
Do we have a 7th on here?
Get out. Get out. Okay, it's a variant of mine. First we had my cat variant. Now it's my mosquito variant. Give me a second here. Give me a second.
I am in South Florida. It makes sense that your mosquito
I'm
variant
sorry.
is here.
I just smacked my mosquito variant.
Yeah.
He's going down.
Anyway, this episode, we're talking all about Loki Season 1. Yes, the season of I was going to say the witch, but he's not a witch. He's a god.
And we have a female Loki. Man, what's your language,
Sylvie,
dude?
So Sylvie's not a witch? Sylvie's like a...
Disrespect.
I don't know. Anyway, like I said, we're talking about Loki Season 1, and our resident Marvel historian is here, Eduardo M. Freyre, to run the show. Ed?
Yeah, Marvel historians are called Marvel zombies.
Oh. Hey, zombie. Hey, zombie. All right, sorry.
No.
Right.
I thought they were true believers.
That too.
Okay.
That too.
I truly believe
Marvel
we should
zombies.
I truly believe
Mary
we should
Marvel
stop
market.
all this stuff and go right to Loki. So go ahead, Ed. I truly believe that.
Anyway, so I think we talked a lot. We talked about Sylvie. We talked about. I think we did talk a little bit about how the TVA might not be what we thought it was.
Right.
So I think at this point, I do want. Well, first of all, I do want to bring up there are 2 characters that we haven't spoken about, which are Ravonna Renslayer, and Mobius M. Mobius.
Yeah.
And
Mobius.
what I love about Mobius, and what I love about that TVA worker that Loki found out about the Infinity Stones from, what I love is that both of them, Mobius evolved as the series went on, but what I like about both of them is that they showed, just the whole kind of, they were a great way of showing just the bureaucratic mentality and just the whole, mind-numbing bureaucracy of the TVA, and also about how just everybody's like, you know what, we're doing this, and we're doing it for the greater good.
Greater good.
Yeah.
Always the greater good.
Always the greater good.
Get you in trouble every time.
Good. Yep. And then Ravonna, I have to admit, so I'm gonna say at the end of it was what episode 4 that we saw the Timekeepers and we kind of got the truth about them.
Yeah.
We had, it was the end of episode 4 that they confronted the Timekeepers and they turned out to be robots.
Yes.
I have to admit, ever since like the back half of it, I'm like, okay, so what is the real deal with the TVA?
Right.
And there was a bit there where I thought Ravonna Renslayer might be behind it all, because she was supposed to be the one that she was supposed to be like, okay, you can't talk to the TVA, you talk to Ravonna, you can't talk to the Timekeepers, you talk to Ravonna, she'll talk to the Timekeepers for you. So I was just like, okay, you're the one.
Well, when you have some of those true believers who will have to believe it. If you shake their belief system, which you kind of wonder how much did she really know and how much did she not. But she kind of says it when she starts talking about, but we have to, but this has to happen.
Yep.
And so you kind of feel like we think she knows more than she's let on, but how much more, how much does she truly know? And is it just because if she doesn't believe in this, her entire existence will fail?
I was thinking the same thing. That's what I was thinking.
Definitely. And I have to admit, there was actually, even for me, I mean, at one point I was thinking, what if Mobius is actually the big bad guy?
Yeah. Well,
you kind of think that for a while.
Yeah. Well, because like one of the things we get introduced to the idea that the TVA, like they say, oh yeah, no, these are all clones. But then you find out that the TVA is actually populated by variants, you know, that I thought, oh, maybe there's going to be a variant of Mobius who's going to be the one, you know, the one that, the one at all. Because I think once we did, you know, I mean, we're going to talk about the bad guy, you know, the big bad in a minute.
Yeah.
But what I was starting to think, and, you know, there was an article I read that was like, could it be, you know, they could be onto something, is that you look at the other two shows, you look at WandaVision, you look at Falcon and Winter Soldier, and the big bad has been there.
Yes.
Sometimes the big bad has been there, but you didn't realize they were until we got to the end, or like, you know, we got to a certain point and it was like, oh yeah, I've been the one pulling the strings all along.
And, you know, talking about the big bad, which I don't know if we want to say the name yet, but it just,
let's go with He Who Remains.
He Who Remains. Well, you know, one version of He Who Remains, I've been hearing for years, well, when are we going to get this? When is he going to be here? He's got to be here. And, you know, and we've gone through so many movies and now a couple of TV shows. And there was a lot of speculation at some point that wasn't, of course, confirmed until the very last episode. And you just go, oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah, I hear that. The other, okay, and I think also since we did mention the word variant, and we've also joked about it, this entire episode, I think we have to pull the trigger and mention the variants.
Yes.
You know, the fifth episode. Well,
Journey into Mystery, the name of the comic that Thor first appeared and Loki first appeared.
Yes. Good. Which, by the way, nice mention of some Marvel history there, Mark.
Thank you. I know some things. I used to read Marvel comics all the time. Thor was never my favorite comic. But
okay, well, you know what?
I did read the Simonsons for a while, but yeah.
Well, the Simonsons.
See, I loved Loki from day one.
Right.
Probably because I have a mischievous streak to me. But, you know.
No.
I mean, Thor was great, but he was always, you know, no offense, he was always bland. As often happens in too many movies, TV shows, you know, the love interest, the cute ones are never the interesting ones. It's always the ones who are evil or mischievous, or not always have the best motivations. Those are the interesting ones.
Yes, the anti-heroes.
Every time.
We got a couple of bad girls. We got a couple of bad girls.
I admit to nothing.
Well, you like
no
bad
proof.
girls, Eddie. But you like bad girls, Eddie, right?
You married one, damn it. You better say yes.
I didn't say I didn't. This is this is not accusatory. This is a statement of fact.
We're talking about bad girls.
Bad.
I was going to do that, but I stopped. I didn't do that, Ed.
Well, because you're not as cool as I am. Okay?
No, you tell me not to sing, so this time I didn't do it, and then you do it. What the hell? Excuse me,
He didn't want
what
you
the
to
heck?
sing, honey, because he wanted to do it so badly.
All right.
So anyway, back to Loki.
Or in this case, the Lokis.
The Lokis.
The Lokis. That was so great.
Which I love. I love the fact that they got Richard E. Grant. Classic Loki.
That was
I was going to say.
So we have an entire.
We
have an entire episode with a classic actor like Richard E. Grant in that green and yellow leotard, and I'm just like, I'm here for it.
You know what? Now that I've seen, when Richard E. Grant came on and everything, I'm thinking to myself, all right, now we need him to do the ultimate role. Richard E. Grant finally play the Doctor, for God's sake. You
Please.
could
He'd
do
be
it.
fabulous.
He'd be great. But
He's got that ability to both be smirky and serious and deadly and fun.
now
oh,
go ahead. He did do the Doctor in Scream of the Chakra.
yes.
He did do that in that animated web series, and but we need him for real. So Chris Chibnall, if you're still there, and I don't know if you're still going to be there, but if you're there, or whoever the next guy is, please, Richard E. Grant. That's what we want to be the Doctor.
Richard E. Grant is definitely the Doctor. Okay, like
And
make
I
it
love the
canon.
fact that he was in the classic Loki costume from the comics, which
Yes.
we all know the comic
Yes.
costumes do not translate to film, period. Anytime they've tried, they look absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them look pretty ridiculous in the comics, but it worked in a comic book.
Yeah.
But, him being the classic Loki, and first of all, I was like, oh, yes, look at the
Yep.
costume. It's perfect.
Yes.
And he deceives you because you really think he plays off like a loser,
Yeah.
but he's not.
Yeah.
He proves it.
He's the classic Loki, but I watched with the captions on. The captions called him old Loki.
Really?
Oh,
called him old
geez.
Loki.
Wow.
I'm going to call him
the
classic Loki.
Yeah.
Me
no.
too.
He was classic Loki. The big Loki with the hammer was boastful Loki. Then you had Kid Loki.
Oh, yeah.
And then of course the
Gator
surprise.
Loki.
Yeah, the surprise. I think the surprise favorite of that episode, Alligator Loki.
And of course,
That was perfect.
there was President Loki.
You know,
Oh,
it's
yes.
funny. Okay, it's funny you should bring up President Loki because scenes with President Loki were used in like the
Yes.
ads for Loki.
Yes.
So when those things showed up, I'm like, you clever SOBs.
Yes.
You actually showed off. You actually blew one of the main surprises of Loki without even anybody realizing.
Yes.
Right.
Because it was Tom Hiddleston just in a suit, in a green suit. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to be curious to see how this plays out. And then
Well,
it's like,
isn't that costume from one of the more recent versions in a comic book somewhere? I could have sworn I've seen an animated version of that kind of Loki. Like something very recent.
you know what? I want
Stumped Ed.
Okay, hold it. Okay, I believe maybe not that exact outfit, but something similar.
Something similar.
Yeah, a very similar kind of look. I'll just say that that did look familiar, especially the
Vote Loki. There was
the horns,
actually
yeah.
a short series of
Yes.
comics
Yeah.
not too long ago. I had to go look that up because it's like I know I saw this somewhere.
Yes.
But I mean it's far more recent, definitely not my time period.
Yeah.
So, question. So we're in this place where everyone gets pruned at, and I mean everyone,
The Void.
right?
Yeah,
The void.
The void. Yep.
Yes.
Why are we only seeing Lokis?
Because they're the only ones smart enough to
They
survive.
survive.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But like, I get that, but like, we have like overpowered beings in here, and Thanos copter. So
Yep.
Thanos
I
somewhere
know.
here.
That was great.
Yeah. Oh man, that was the Thanos. The Thanos copter is canon in the MCU now.
I know.
This is where we are. This is where we are in reality. We have the Thanos copter being canon, which, by the way, I'm okay with it. The Thanos copter is canon. It's like, I'm good with it. I'm good with that.
Deal with it.
Good with the Thanos copter being canon. But I think to answer your question, Zion, you know what? Vicky said it right. Loki is clever enough to be, to survive, while everybody else probably got killed by Eliath, like straight up.
Like,
I mean,
that's another thing. I've never heard of Eliath ever in my life. So like, is he like a cosmic entity?
I'm familiar with Eliath. I didn't read the comics that pertain to Eliath. I saw like a Marvel handbook entry on it, and Eliath is not so much a cosmic entity as just like a cosmic threat. Like I'd have to dig up his handbook entry, but it's not. I mean, there is a precedent for it, is what I will say. Like he's not he didn't just come up in the void. Pardon the expression.
That's good.
Pardon my
good.
French.
That's good.
I just caught myself. But one thing though, I think I will say this, classic Loki's sacrifice. I was just like, wow,
Yes.
go out like a champ. Although there was a part of me for a moment that I was like, is he going to turn out to be the big bad, like in disguise?
Right.
The way he died with Alioth just kind of swarming over him, and then, we get the ruined helmet. I'm just like, the door is open for there to be, a trick where like they're going to walk, they're going to see the man behind the curtain, and there's classic Loki, like, I'm alive, just.
Well, and I have to say this about classic Loki, before I was telling you, I really feel how Loki just constantly evolves. And to me, it would make perfect sacrifice by the time he got to that age that he would absolutely sacrifice himself for others in the truest sense. And I just felt like it continued that thought process, because Kid Loki is just a hothead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And not the best of characters.
Yep. But yeah, he didn't turn out to be the big bad, but we did get the big bad. We got He Who Remains. And when I saw the actor playing him, Jonathan Majors,
right,
I was like, wait a minute. Is that, because here's the thing, here's the big spoiler. Any Marvel fans, any MCU fans who have been following the news about stuff coming up will recognize the name Jonathan Majors, because he will be in the next Ant-Man and Wasp movie, Kang the Conqueror.
Right. Yes.
So when he showed up, I'm just like, wait a minute. Are they revealing
Could
Kang?
it be?
Yeah.
Is this Kang? What?
See, I didn't know the thing about the Ant-Man and Wasp. I figured it was Kang for a few reasons. One, the time traveling. One, because when he's talking about, I have many names, I've been the Conqueror. He mentioned the 31st century and the outfit he was wearing. So that's how I picked up that it was Kang.
Yeah.
But
it was like, it's Kang. It's got to be Kang, right?
Yeah.
It's Kang.
Yep. And they actually never say it. They actually never say it, but it was.
Listen, like, I can deal with them not saying Kang, but oh my goodness, they've asked this man for his name like 3 times. Just say Richards, damn it! Just say Richards. I want to just please force something.
You wanted him to say, my name is Nathaniel Richards.
Something just say the 4 lives. Please.
Yes, I love the way you think, man. Yeah, no, but there's still room for it. One thing I gotta say, I mean, and then just the ending. Well, you talked about Sylvie. Talked about Sylvie, Vicky. Here she goes killing He Who Remains. Even after He Who Remains is like, you may not want to do that.
Yeah.
You may not want to do that.
Her irrational anger.
Yep.
Supersedes any ability to look at the big picture. She can't think past what she has lost and what she's suffered over these potentially centuries of floating through the variants. Yes. She couldn't do it. And you knew from the moment she had that glint in her eye, nope, she's going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if you didn't know about the movies coming out and everything else, you just knew from the look in her eye, she was not going to take any amount of rationality. She was only going to get her revenge, and that's all she cared about.
Yep. Oh, no, definitely.
And, I could understand when she was, when our Loki, wanted her to stop. And he goes, oh, you want the throne yourself. You this, because that's how the old Loki would have been. But Loki in this story has changed. And it's interesting because this could have, except for the fact that, he needed to know his mother died because of him. This series could have took place between Thor 2 and Thor 3, where Thor starts to change more. And he did change in Thor 2 a little, but in Thor 3, he was kind of starting to be the good guy. And so,
And I gotta say, the ending. I mean, first of all, ending on that cliffhanger.
Mhm.
Oh,
And I can understand why, if the theory is correct, that Spider-Man No Way Home
Mhm.
has been, that we haven't seen anything, because basically splitting off into all these branches,
yes.
time, and then the ominous thing where He Who Remains, before he gets killed,
Right.
saying, hey, something much worse could come in behind me.
Mhm.
That I'm like, uh-oh, because we see Loki looking, and you see He Who Remains, but he's wearing the Kang outfit.
Right.
And it's one of those
Yes.
things where it's like, you kind of want to say, what have you done?
Yes.
Yes.
And the fact that so much of the TVA has changed, and
Yep.
the confusion and and it ends there, and I was like, no, I must have more.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no,
Did you guys expect that there was going to be a season 2 before that
No.
last episode?
No. Well,
No.
before the last episode came out, it was being said that this would have a season 2. Like, I knew going
well, no,
into
but I
season
mean,
2,
okay,
but-
maybe before the season 1, before the show came out completely, would you think Tom Hiddleston would have put himself up for more than one season, even though he was executive producer? Would you think he would?
I would have. Honestly, most of these Disney shows getting more than one season, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that any more than one.
I saw
season.
an article where Tom Hiddleston said that he would play Loki for life.
Yes.
Yep. Oh yeah.
When you think about it, Loki is like one of the best characters.
He's
Tom
also the
Hiddleston's done a lot of Shakespeare, and Loki fits into that so beautifully.
Loki is also, if you think about it, the longest running Marvel's Cinematic Universe character.
Yes. Really?
From Avengers, and he's still going now.
Oh, that's
Tony
true.
Stark dead, Captain America as good as dead.
Out of
the picture, out of commission.
Yeah.
He's the one that's still around. He was in Thor. He was in Thor. So he's been around. In the number of years, I think he's the longest running actor except for Nick Fury, except for Samuel L. Jackson. I think Samuel L. Jackson wins.
Incredible Hulk.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't. It was a different actor.
Okay, so we're gonna have a multiverse Incredible Hulk now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Please say yes.
Let's have Mr. Fix-It. Can we have Mr. Fix-It? I want Mr. Fix-It.
Yeah, Vicky, try not to give the Hulk fans out their hope.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I know.
I know. That Hulk is kind of
universal locked.
Yeah, he seems to be locked right now.
Yeah.
So.
Real quickly, since this whole episode is about King's words, I feel like we should talk about King's words.
Okay.
Particularly because of like the first minute of the episode, which I'm not gonna lie had the best Marvel intro that we've had so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But like
that was so well done.
All the dialogue,
yeah.
Because the entire thing about TVA is that we have one centralized timeline and we're trying to keep it from branching. But the very beginning of this, we're shown that, okay, we zoom out from the Marvel timeline. We're now shown 2 universes. We zoom into the next universe, and then we get to where we are in the episode. So like it lines up with what King says with how time with universes are stacked. But yeah, I find it weird that like they misconstrued the words saying that we are the only timeline rather than we're kind of just isolate our own timelines from the other timelines.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating when you think about it, because we like to think of our Avengers timeline and all that, and I call him Loki Prime.
Right.
Shows my total bias, but it just, is there really a prime, or is it just truly these infinite universes, which of course have been discussed by scientists going back quite a while now.
Yeah.
And it just, what really comes of it, and is there a prime? Is there a sacred timeline? Is there really one timeline that matters above it all? Do you really need to have everything happen up to here the way Kang was talking about? How important was that? Was it necessary to do the TVA? I mean, you start questioning everything when he's explaining this, and you're like, okay, well, TVA, maybe there really isn't a sacred timeline. Maybe it's it was this version of Kang's idea of a sacred timeline,
or essentially, it's like, it could also be that, there is a sacred timeline, but but it's sacred. It's sacred to, you know, what He Who Remains wanted. That
Exactly.
in this particular case, what He Who, now according to what he said, and again, your mileage may vary. You know, he said that you know, he had to be last man standing. He had to be the variant, the version that controls things because there's worse out there.
Yeah.
So it's like, as far as he's concerned, he needs to be last man standing.
Yeah.
It could be that he doesn't, but we have to take him at his word, because we don't know, you know, we don't know
right
what's out there. We don't know about the worst ones. So
it is not only that, but like, you also have to take into the bigger picture. Since like we just had like this Disney Sony feud over Spider-Man like a couple months ago, how can they mix the story to not only bring characters in but take them out? Who's to say that the stacked universes is not next to the Venom universe where Venom comes in, or the other one below it is another Spider-Man universe? We're just going to take out Spider-Man and put him into the Sonyverse. Like, there's so much that you can do here. Like you bring in the four and just have it just thrown in and say, oh, boom, they're the four here because it's just a universe. I think it's like one of the most smartest things I've seen, and one of the most expansive things since like the Doctor Who regeneration.
Yes.
Because you literally can't run out of stories here. You could go on for like 50 years and still stay on the same multiverse.
And that's how they did it on the comics.
Yep.
Is that you were able to throw in some of this. And that's where, to me, it's fun, because I don't know. I mean, just the battle of the Lokis. It was like, oh yes, this is fabulous.
Oh yeah.
You know,
definitely.
you start to really enjoy these plays on different storylines. And oh well, if this had happened, oh, this would have been cool. This would have been great to see Loki do this or Thor do that or whatever it is. And you're right. This could go on forever. And no offense, the way that the MCU is going on right now, and actually since the MCU started with Iron Man, I've loved it. I've loved every single movie for different reasons. And I've loved the TV shows. And I kind of know that I want to see more.
Yeah.
I could go on for the rest of my life just going and watching these every year.
Yes. And honestly, I mean, if somehow, you know, the cosmos were to align, and somebody said, okay, Ed, we want you to help us create some shows for the MCU on Disney Plus, I would grab my copies of the handbooks. I would be flipping through pages going, can we use him? Can we use him? Can we use her?
Yes.
Can we use him? I would just go down the list.
Yes.
I would go down the list and I'd be like, do we have the rights to this guy? Okay, I want to use him for something. Do we have the rights for this person? I want to use them. You know, I will find a way. I mean, hell.
And you know what? We will find a way to end this show. If you're listening to us on on Odyssey Radio, that's all the time we have. If you want, you can listen to our extended version on Geekcast Radio Network. We have more for you there. Go to our podcast page on iTunes, on iHeartRadio, all that stuff. It's called the Mark Who 42 Podcast. We will continue the discussion there.
Tooncast is dedicated to the cartoons we grew up with. 100 episodes and more make up one of the GCRN's most popular podcasts. Join hosts TFG and Mike, Optimus Solo, Terror the Rising Star, and tons of guest hosts. We also have voice actor and writer interviews. Tune in to Tooncast as we look back on the cartoons that defined us as geeks. You can find Tooncast on iTunes and the web at www.geekcastradio.com. Tune in.
No variants. Sacred timeline.
Well, obviously, if you're still listening to us, you're listening to our podcast feed on Geekcast Radio Network or one of the podcast platforms around the world under the name The Mark Who 42 Podcast. If you were listening to us on Odyssey Radio and you're joining us to hear just the end of it, welcome. Okay.
Yeah.
That
was Mark's variant that can speak the good English. I speaks the good English.
I speak it. Yeah.
I have the learnings and I speaks the good English.
The Mark with the stutter. Podcast. Okay, sorry about that, folks. I have a stutter anyway sometimes. That was one of them. Anyway, so we're talking Loki season 1. Ed?
And actually, okay, something that I do want to bring up. Watching the season finale of Loki, and then
Yeah.
all this talk about timeline branches and all that. So it made me look, because the next show that's supposed to come up is What If?
Yeah. In less than a month. I mean, they're basically running. You cannot miss a Marvel show if every month there's something else.
Yeah. But
I'm
here's
fine
the thing.
with that.
Oh yeah, no. I'm
Until
fine with that,
Hawkeye,
too.
and then I don't think there's anything after that. I think, but that's when Star Wars.
But we got more stuff.
Well, no, we eventually have more stuff, but I don't think it's within a month.
We'll see.
But then we have all the Star Wars stuff coming out, so it's alternate.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though. It made me look at What If in a different light. Because I'm here, I'm seeing that What If is the Watcher showing off all these alternate realities, right?
Yes.
So, and please excuse the expression, what if that show is the Watcher looking at these alternate timelines because he's trying to find which ones are like good timelines and which ones are bad ones that need to be pruned.
So you're saying there might be a story arc in What If?
Yeah,
not just random things like the comic did.
It's not just the Watcher using whatever he does to watch alternate timelines and be like, okay, this is my Sunday morning football. He could be
Sunday morning. Oh, I guess you're on the West Coast. It might be Sunday morning.
Sunday morning. Or even games start at like 11. Okay, that's still the morning.
Anyway,
over here it's like 12 or 1. I don't think we don't get professional football at 11 on the East Coast.
Details. Well, we get college football.
Okay.
The point being that it's not just the Watcher looking because it's like, well, that's my job. He could be looking because he's looking to see, okay, this timeline will be a problem. This is okay. This one's so. He's trying to catalog.
Right.
So, the new version of the TVA can figure out what needs to be kept, what needs to go. Or maybe he's trying his own thing of like, well, the TVA has gone bad. All these branches, let me see what I can, let me see which branches are good, so maybe we can, curtail whatever the new Kang-led TVA is all about.
Right.
Interesting.
Because you look at it, it's like they have a Marvel Zombies world. They have, there's the Captain Carter world. There's T'Challa leading the Guardians of the Galaxy. There's one where Tony Stark is apparently allied with Killmonger. So all that
one should be interesting.
You see all that. You see. I think there was one with like Spider-Man as like the Sorcerer Supreme. But you see all those, and
which may tie to the Spider-Man No Way Home.
Maybe. But see, that's the thing. I'm kind of wondering: is the Watcher watching because he's trying to figure out? Okay, we gotta save the reality. And we got to do it by looking at which timelines work and which don't.
Right.
Because I know that, and it's interesting because I've seen people on social media, including the writer, the one who wrote it himself, talking about there was a miniseries called Avengers Forever.
Right.
In which a lot of what we saw from Loki got taken.
Oh. Okay.
Like it dealt with the TVA, it dealt with Kang's history, and it dealt heavily with the timekeepers and their manipulations to create like this kind of perfect reality.
What's
like
it called
they
again?
What? It's called Avengers Forever.
I have to look that up.
Yep. And it was cool because one of the things it did is you had this multi-time Avengers squad. You had a Hawkeye from right after the Kree Skrull War. You had Cap right before he went to his Nomad stage. You had Hank Pym and Wasp coming from modern day. You had another Hank Pym from his Yellow Jacket days. So you had like this kind of weird mix of multi-time Avengers from different periods kind of gathered together to be, okay, we want to have, we want to have this multi-Avengers group so that we can have a, so that we can save the day. It's just not, like there was a reason why it had to be these specific versions. Like, they wanted Cap as an inspiration, but since it's a Cap that's kind of having a crisis of faith, he won't like take over things, That was like one of the reasons behind these. But, it did. Loki took some things from it, especially the idea that the timekeepers could be manipulating things, and what is the real deal behind the timekeepers.
Right.
So for me, that's like, okay, that really brought some interesting things out.
Okay, so what do you guys think is going to be the biggest thing that's going to come from this multiverse phase?
You know what? Ooh.
And that's kind of hard because
Yeah.
what's going to be the standout? Because they're going to play around with things. We're going to have multiple characters from different universes interfering with at least 2 sets of movies, and it just what's going to be the standout? I mean, where is it going to like end? Start with the What If and the Spider-Man, and then we've got Doctor Strange. Is Doctor Strange going to close the multiverse? Is that going to happen in his movie, or is that just going to be another tipping point?
See, that is the thing, because I mean, I know we have coming up, we have the Eternals, we have Shang-Chi, we have Spider-Man,
Mm-hmm.
we've got Doctor Strange, we've got Guardians 3,
Right.
we've got, I'm trying to think
We
of like
only know
we got
that actually involve the multiverse.
Yeah, and
No?
we got Ant-Man and Wasp.
That's
So
right. That one's that one.
Kang, okay, since Kang is involved in that may also involve time travel in the multiverse.
Yeah.
And then we know that Fantastic Four is out there somewhere. The exact like particulars of it are not.
I mean, we might actually get a good Fantastic Four movie.
We might get a good.
If it's part of the MCU, yes.
Okay.
I would agree with that one.
Yeah. No, what I will say is that as far as, it's like, we don't know, we don't have the entire, we're right now in the middle of phase 4. We don't know what phase 5 or even 6, we don't know what they look like.
That's true.
We
only have hints at things.
They don't. Yeah, we know that. I mean, as far as we know, this train is still going. This MCU train is still going, but we don't. It is one of those things where even more so than round 1, phases 1 through 3, even more so, we have kind of this blank slate where's it going to go? What are we leading towards?
Question, because I feel like at least from a business standpoint, right, we're moving away from the Avengers and towards Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is easily the most marketable superhero of all time.
Always.
So I feel like everything's gonna be centered now towards Spider-Man. So I have a question: did Sony and Disney ever like figure out their differences between this? Because this is like a loaded gun. You could either have Marvel characters come in, or Spider-Man get out. Like this is an actual 2-way door for Spider-Man, and until that's like resolved, I don't know if like Far Away From Home is the actual end of MCU Spider-Man or not.
Mm-hmm.
Doubt it.
Because like didn't his contract like only have like 7 movies, and we ran that course since this last movie?
I think, okay, from what I believe, they did work things out to at least No Way Home.
Okay.
No Way Home is at least
right.
At least we'll get No Way Home. I think that, yeah, it might, I mean, you said it's moving away from the Avengers to Spider-Man. It may even not be moving towards Spider-Man. It may be moving towards something else, or it may be moving towards the Avengers, but with like a new generation of heroes taking the mantle.
Or, the letter right after Y. I mean X. I mean before Y. Either or. X something. Factor.
XYZ.
Apocalypse. Men. I don't care. Just put an X.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who knows? I will say this. I don't think due to rights issues and due to all this, I don't think we'll have it quite on the level of like when the CW did Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Mm.
And we had like Burt Ward as Robin and things like that. I don't think it'll be quite on that level, but I know that the only reason we're able to get Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in No Way Home is because they do have the it's Sony, so it's like,
Right.
Okay, we'll let you borrow some characters from our two failed attempts at a Spider-Man.
Are they really doing this? Is that a done deal that they're in this? Because I thought it was still a rumor.
Jamie
I think
Foxx are also signed on to come back as
Electro.
Electro, yeah.
No,
So
I saw that.
I think it's one of those things where it's like you could probably take it to the bank. They just don't want to say yes, yes, definitely, until until like that.
And how much they're
comes
going
out.
to be in is a huge debate. I've heard through some of the various other groups. It's just like, so is it going to be a little bit like there's going to be cameos of all these others that we're going to touch on, or is it actually going to be we're going to have some significant footage of these other actors reprising their versions? And of course, the animated Spider-Verse movie that dude did so phenomenal. It kind of is not that big surprise that they might want to try this in live action.
See, like, that's why I bring this up. It's because since the success of Spider-Verse, right? Because we all almost agree that if Spider-Verse tanked, then Sony surrenders the rights, and that's it. Maybe. That's the only best case scenario. But it did well, and here we are still making Venom 2 and Morbius and more Spider-Man IPs, but it's not Spider-Man. Yeah. So like, it's kind of like a tension, like, okay, who's going to give?
Right.
Yeah,
I think that Sony realized, personally, now I love the Sam Raimi films. Even the third one had its moments. But I think that Sony knows that it was a hot commodity, but they also knew that they were about to lose it. And that deal that they inked with Disney has made them so much freaking money. And I don't know how much of a publicity stunt we're going to break up before the second Tom Holland Spider-Man movie came out was. I don't know if it was a publicity stunt or what, but it just, Sony would be stupid to not continue this deal because they clearly, no offense, can't do it on their own. They must stay in this marriage or relinquish the rights. They don't have as many big hits as, well, no offense, Disney does. And, to stay a viable studio, having these relationships and having these agreements is making them so much money.
Yes.
That it would be, it would be business suicide to say, okay, well, now we've done this. We've made all this money. Now we're going to do it ourselves because we know better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's, it's weird. It's weird because we have Venom, we have Morbius. I know they wanted to do Kraven the Hunter. Mm-hmm. I remember at one point they wanted to do a Black Cat Silver Sable team up movie. And it's just one of those things where I'm like, it really, I mean, why try to hoard these characters? It feels like even though they're working with Marvel and they gave Marvel permission to use Spider-Man in the MCU, it feels too much to me like they're doing what DC's trying to do, what Fox was trying to do, in the sense that, we want a piece of this multi-film universe Kool-Aid. And, we think we can make lightning strike twice. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where, like, for example, a character like when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was on, I was like, a character like Silver Sable would be so perfect for it. She would
Right.
be perfect. And because she has ties to Spider-Man, apparently Sony has her. So it's like, ugh!
Yeah.
Because it's like the potential is there. A story like, a character like Venom, I suppose you could do it without Spider-Man, but there is just, there's just so much more that can be done if Venom and Spider-Man are in the same universe.
And I have to agree with you that some of these characters would fit so much better in TV shows and in the medium of the television as opposed to a movie, because
or just in the greater in part of a greater universe.
Yes.
Like, for example, Silver Sable, her group Wild Pack started off as Nazi hunters. And if you want to do, and if you want to have like, if you want to have her on a thing like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or hanging out with Captain America, the door is open for that.
Silver Sable would be a good show.
Yes, would be a good show, or it would be cool for like a Captain America movie, or her with the Avengers, or her with Nick Fury. She just fits. It just fits in there.
Yeah.
But keeping her kind of keeping her cordoned off because she's part of the rights package that you got. That
I agree. I think that's a huge mistake.
It's a huge mistake, and it's like, and it's just,
If Sony was smart, and I am speaking partially as a business person, not just as a fangirl, but if they were smart, they have these certain rights, and now that they've inked these deals and they're able to keep these rights because they were able to do things, albeit with the MCU, they should take them and run. Maybe not do them themselves, but ink more deals with the MCU. Maybe do some of these little, I love these short little TV shows, even though, yes, I want more of all of them. I like it. It's kind of the British feel where you have these short series, or, you have multiple seasons over 20 years, but it only encompasses maybe 30 episodes total, thinking like The Vicar, and it just, there's so many of these things that you could do. And I think that Disney has proved that these short limited run series have a place and have an appetite. Boy, wouldn't it be fun to get some of these characters that have followings, that have people go, oh yeah, I love this character. We're not talking about the character who showed up in comic book 361 for one time in 3 frames and then we never saw again. And God knows we have plenty of those. But take some of these less famous characters but have strong fan bases, make some of these one-off series that can connect to the greater MCU but don't have to be part of the primary story. And because you hear them mention it, when they talk about people were watching and they list off names, and we heard Doctor Strange's name for the first time, and early on in the MCU he's mentioned in passing. It's one of those things where there's really great characters that so many of us love. And okay, maybe don't put them in a movie, give them a little series, throw a few of those other characters in that we all love. And Sony could make these deals with Disney and make a buttload of money, which is, of course, no offense, as business people, that's all they care about. All they want to do is make money. They're not necessarily, even movie studios, and I apologize to every actor out there that I know and love, but the studios are not in it to make great art. They're in it to make money. Hence why we have, Rambo 68.
Hence why we have Sylvester Stallone.
Oh my God! I know,
Sylvester Stallone, like in a walk, beating people up in a walker.
That will be the next movie. He's in a wheelchair with a cane smacking them, just like I do.
He's in a wheelchair. He's in a wheelchair with like a built-in machine gun and a rocket launcher. Going,
oh God! I can see. Oh no! We've just given them an idea. We must stop talking. They will film this.
He's right now at the studio. Oh, I got an idea. We want to do another Rambo movie. I was listening to a podcast. I got an idea.
Okay, if we get a cut of it, that's all I care about.
Hey, are you listening, Sly? You listening, Sly? We want to cut.
But they could do so much great, because very clearly, I'm not going to say the MCU's not in it for the money, because of course they are.
I mean,
They seem to care about the fans. Now, of course, several of the people involved with the MCU on an administrative level clearly are fans. And, so we can take their creative genius. Sony can partner because they own all these. I mean, it's kind of shocking when you realize, how many characters do they, quote unquote, own right now? And you're like, how the hell do they own that many characters? I realized that when they bought that package deal, nobody thought it was going to be viable ever again.
Yeah.
But, let's take that. Let's take these characters. Let's take the creativity. Those guys can make a buttload of money, and we can have great things to watch from here to eternity. Dear God, I would so love that.
That level of oversight reminds me of the Star Wars toys deal.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Is that level of oversight? Like, okay, we just don't like money, so forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Star Wars toys, I still want to know. I still would love to find the person who greenlit the C-3PO tape dispenser. You know the one I'm talking about. I
like to see 3PO Bez dispenser. I like to see 3PO Bez dispenser.
No, I'm talking about the tape dispenser.
I know. I'm
talking about the tape dispenser. I want to know who greenlit that. Better idea. I want to know who greenlit that. I want to know who was like looking at products and going, "This is cool. I can see kids using it in school. Let's."
You know what? We all know that there was that Tarzan toy. I don't remember if it was it had to be McDonald's. It was Disney. But there was a Tarzan toy that had an action that looked very inappropriate.
I think.
And can you remember that one?
Okay, and doesn't he have and didn't it like make it worse that he had like a yelling face?
Yes.
Yeah, that was geez.
I really think that, and I've had these jokes over the years because I've gotten products where, hey, I thought you'd like this, and I open it up and I'm like, okay, this is a gag gift, right? I mean, who designed this? And you're constantly shocked that after all the reams of people who have to go and look at all this stuff, somehow this still made it on a shelf somewhere.
Yeah.
And they really sold it before someone finally went, oh, that's inappropriate.
Yeah, yes.
I'm like, yes. You had to get one of those crazy moms, and I am a crazy mom, but not that kind of crazy mom. But, you had to get one of those crazy moms going, oh my God, you've ruined my child for life. And it's like, oh yeah, maybe
no, one of my favorite stories from the 90s is McFarlane Toys doing Spawn toys, and how they had the character of Angela, the angel, the angel that likes to kill spawns or something. So they had the character of Angela, and okay, I've never seen this figure myself, so I cannot speak for the anatomical correctness. But she has like a loincloth type of thing.
Yes.
I know that and I know that
I'm looking at some of the toys. Holy crap.
No, I know that there is an Angela that was called Party Angela, because under the loincloth it wasn't like there's a lot of toys that when they're wearing a dress or a loincloth that they kind of paint over certain areas. Party Angela was not painted over.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So they called it Party Angela, and I'm just like, okay, because I think I remember there would be.
You kind of feel like it must be a gag gift, right?
Well, you kind of feel. Well, what gets me is hearing about parents who buy Spawn toys, and it's like, you realize.
First of all, why are you buying your 10-year-old kid a Spawn toy?
Well, because it's a comic book character.
Yeah, comics are for kids.
Oh my God, that is one of those lines that absolutely annoys me.
It will never end.
All kids should be reading heavy metal. Totally.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, anything by Corbin. Anything by Corbin.
About how young I was the first time I picked up one of those, and it was like, that wasn't what I was expecting. Okay then. No, I didn't tell my mother.
Hey, Vicky's mom, guess what she read as a little girl?
You know what? That was a couple decades ago. If my mother tries to ground me, she's in another state. We'll be fine. I'll say, sure, Mom. I'm staying in my room. I'm being good. I'm not going out after school. It's not happening at all. But there's definitely, there's pure adult level comics that's what they're there for. In my personal opinion, growing up with comics and loving comics, the fact that there is something of a more adult nature, sometimes good, sometimes not. Yeah. Spawn was great because when it really came out when I was almost an adult, and it just, for me, it was like this perfect segue into because sometimes sometimes they got really kind of kid-ish in the comic books, and you're like, oh, you guys have lost your way. Okay, let me find something more interesting. But it just, okay, maybe the action figure should not be anatomically correct, and maybe the toys and well, I mean, that's a different kind of toy. Come on, admit that. But maybe the things that they're trying to mass market and sell, they really should think about before they put them out. And there really should be someone sitting there going, this is going to be inappropriate. Maybe we need to make a mark, not for kids. Or, well, I'm sorry, if it says Spawn, it should be for kids anyway. Kids should be a little bit earlier.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Jeez.
Yeah, you gotta love a podcast where we start talking about an MCU show and we dovetail into inappropriate toys.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know where to go from there.
I'm sorry. I went off on one of my tangents again. Bad Vicky.
So Loki. No.
Loki, yes. Okay,
Loki,
back to Loki. Well, that's okay. I can talk about Loki and Tom Hiddleston all day long.
We'll talk
about Tom. Doesn't matter if he's only a little bit older than my son.
Talk about Tom.
Oh, geez.
Well, I actually did first see him in a Shakespearean production.
Yeah.
And it just, I was absolutely floored by him. And then he was in that Kenneth Branagh detective show. What was it called? Wallander?
Yeah, Wallander. Yeah.
And that was just so phenomenal. And I love the story where he actually auditioned for Thor. Mm-hmm. And he's a good enough actor. He could have pulled it off. Yeah. But I think that level of talent, no offense to Chris, is just so much better served in Loki. In I think it was the first episode when he's sitting there playing around with his timeline and he's watching his own timeline, and there he is. He sees his mother's death, his father's death, his own death, and you watch this actor, recognizing it probably was filmed over multiple days, but he's going through all these emotions. He's laughing, he's smirking, he's crying, he's dumbfounded. I mean, and you believed him. You really believed every emotion he was telling you. That is a sign of a good actor. One of the reasons I liked Thor in the comics, because there was so much about it that was, and probably because it is mythology, that fits so well in Shakespeare. And Ed knows this about me. My first degree is English literature degree, specializing in William Shakespeare.
I didn't realize that. Yep. I didn't realize that.
Represent.
And I just have to be, special. Couldn't do anything normal. But and I appeared in several Shakespeare productions when I was younger and still on the stage. And I love Shakespeare dramatically and undramatically. And and watching Tom's acting ability and what he can do and everything there, he was so amazing as Loki. And watching him on that, I'll be honest, when I first heard that, I was like, well, he's really good at this. I was like, I don't know. I can't picture Loki but then, 5 seconds into Thor, I was like, I'm sold. Mm-hmm. He was perfect. I felt the casting was perfect. I, of course, love the first Thor because it's very Shakespearean. It's directed by Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
Which just everything about that was so perfect to me. And I'm so glad that they didn't make Loki this one-off character. He wasn't going to continue. There was no intention in the beginning that he was going to be possibly anything more than in the first Thor movie.
Right.
but the fans loved him. And there's something that, we can identify with somebody who feels unloved, feels like second best, feels like, well, maybe my dad never loved me. I mean, we've all been that teenager. And what we end up with is this really deep character we can all identify with, even when he's being a mass murderer. That's a bad part of him, but it's coming from a weird spot where, maybe if we all had the ability to work with, Thanos and get even for everything bad we ever thought happened to us when we were a teenager, we might have done the same thing in attacking New York.
Yeah, yes, definitely. I think we're going to end our extra part of Mark Who 42's universe here on Geekcast Radio Network and the Mark Who 42 podcast all over the web, including Audible. Audible, we're on Audible. Zion, any last words? Yeah, we can't say anything bad about the company that owns Audible. Zion.
For all time, always.
Okay.
I love it. That was great.
Yeah. Vicky?
Oh, I've already spoken too much.
Okay. And me, I always have things to talk about, so I'll talk about them next time. We'll see you next week or the week after, or even we'll see you for the many weeks ahead. So long until next time. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening to Mark Who 42's Universe with hosts Mark Baumgarten, Patricia Freyre, Eduardo M. Zion Quiros, and Vicky Jakubowski. This program was produced and directed by Mark Baumgarten. If you'd like to get in touch with us, please go to our Facebook page or email us at markwho42s.universe@gmail.com. You can listen to old shows at our website, markwho42.com, or even our YouTube page, Markwho42. Mark Who 42's Universe, copyright 2021.